Hello, this is Dr. Paul Cottrell, and I'm going to be going over the debate that took place last night. I'm recording this on 9/11/2024. There was a debate last night between Donald Trump and Kamala Harris. I am not going to go over the actual, in this video, I'm not going to go over play by play of the debate. I want to cursory view the other news networks and their take on it. And then I will do another deep dive in a different video. I did a video earlier today about the market and what I think is happening on the S&P 500 and how it will respond to the Federal Reserve announcement where they're going to reduce interest rates this year. All right, so take a look at that video. I believe it's Gen Zero, episode 56, if you want to learn about how the market is going to, in the short run, for this year, potentially happen. All right, in terms of resistance levels and support levels. So with that said, let's go into that. But before we begin, it's really important that you subscribe to all my channels. I have 4 channels on YouTube. I have Brighteon, Bitchute, and Rumble. Please make sure you subscribe to all those channels and also help support my work by donating on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Why? I have thousands of videos for free. It's through your donations and you being a paid member on Patreon that allows me to do these free videos. If you don't donate, they're not free. So please subscribe to my videos and please help support the work. So on my website, the-studio-reykjavik.com, the link is in the description of this video. On the homepage at the very bottom, you can donate through Stripe, PayPal, or buy me a coffee. You can be a paid member on my Patreon channel. Link is in the description of this video for the Patreon channel. Be a paid member. At a higher tier level, you get more benefits. You get different levels of access to some of my medical lectures that I did in pulmonology and immunology. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and help support the work. Also, make sure that you follow me on X and on GETTR. That way you get announcements. In addition, please ask your social media to follow me so I can reach a larger audience. That way you learn about how the markets are evolving, how the economy is evolving, how to improve your health and navigate through some crises, and what's going on geopolitically. That way you get a kind of a unique perspective. I think I have a unique perspective on things. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the products that I offer and boost up your health. It's really important. For example, I have a structural nano silver that this product is relatively new on my store now. This version now is a 35 ppm. I used to have a 30 ppm. So this advanced alkaline structured silver is 35 ppm now. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this product. Take a teaspoon of it a day, swish it in your mouth, gargle with it, 20 seconds or so, 30 seconds, and swallow it. What that will do is it will neutralize the pathogens, and it will also maintain a mucosal barrier. So please go to the store and get the structural nano silver that I have. In addition, get the applicator set, and that way you can put the liquid in and carry it in your bag or in your backpack instead of carrying a big bottle. It has a spritzer, a dropper, and a nasal spray. So it's a great way to carry the structural nano silver. In addition, I have the best toothpaste that you can get. It's a structural nano silver toothpaste. It doesn't have any fluoride in it. It will whiten your teeth, freshen your breath, reduce that inflammation at the gum line, neutralize pathogens, And with good oral hygiene, you're going to improve your cardiovascular health and your valvular health. A lot of people don't realize that if you have bad oral hygiene, you're increasing the chances of cardiovascular problems. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I offer the best toothpaste that you can buy. So help support my work instead of Alex Jones. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the structural nano silver. So lastly, I have the structural nano silver gel. This gel will help to neutralize pathogens. You put it on your hands, around your mouth, around your nose, around your ears, around your eyes, lightly coat your nostrils. Stays active for about 5 hours or so. You can also use it as a skincare, where you apply it on your skin, and you'll notice that on a regular basis, your skin is clearer and it's tighter. It's a great way to improve your skin. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this structural nano silver gel. In addition, not only does it neutralize the pathogen, but it's creating a barrier on your skin. This is going to be important, especially when we go into the cold season. So you should get a couple tubes of this for your household because you're going to need it. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, so let's begin with Fox on their take with Trump. All right. Now, before I do this, I want to say that I watched the whole thing live yesterday, the whole debate. Hold on, let me just make sure that the speakers are good. All right, I watched the whole debate yesterday. All right, live. I personally believe that Trump underperformed and Harris performed better than expected. But I do think that she rambled a little bit. And I felt that Trump was near the end was getting irritated. All right. In terms of policy, I am more aligned with the policy of Trump than the policy of Harris. I believe Harris represents socialism, tiptoeing into communism. And I feel that that type of policy is going to weaken this country militarily and weaken this country economically. Her tax policies, I don't agree with. So I'm more aligned with Trump. So there's an inherent bias, all right? But I do feel that Trump did not perform as well as he should have, and that Harris performed better than expected. So I think that's important to mention here. So we'll see. We'll see how this all evolves. It's going to be a close race, and I feel as though Pennsylvania is still in play. It's going to be close, and Michigan is going to be close, and it's in play. And those two states need to go to Trump. So Michigan and Pennsylvania needs to hold the line if they want to have a Republican president. In addition, I am very worried that if Harris gets into office, that the Republicans aren't controlling the Senate and the House of Representatives. I think that's very important because we need that counterbalance. If she is president, we need a strong Republican counterbalance in Congress. So it kind of prevents her from pushing these socialistic policies. I'll go into a little bit more detail as certain questions were asked, what my answer would have been. But I do feel that at times Trump failed in answering the way he should have answered. And at times, Harris performed better, but she did ramble in certain areas. Now, my observation post-debate has been that the news media, if they are liberal bias, Trump did. It was devastating. That's how CNN says it. While some more conservative commentators were spinning it in a positive light for Trump. So with that said, let's take a look at how Fox spins this. This was published 2 hours ago.
If trying something new opened up a whole new world of possibilities, would you embrace it? A small change.
Squaring off on the debate stage last night, meeting face to face for the very first time. It was a heated debate, less than 2 months until Election Day.
Joining us right now on the phone to react after that very busy night, the 45th President of the United States, the GOP presidential nominee, Donald Trump. Mr. President, how do you feel about the night? 105 minutes long. You've done this before. I think your 8th one. What is your review of your performance?
Well, I looked at the poll numbers. I listened to Harold Ford. I don't know what he was watching because I think he wasn't watching the debate that I was in yesterday. I think we did great. It was 3-1. It was a rigged deal, as I assumed it would be, because when you looked at the fact that they were correcting everything and not correcting with her. And we knew it when it was 100% good coverage for her over the last month or last year. I looked at it and only bad coverage of me, no matter what. The press is so dishonest in this country, it's amazing. Now, I didn't mind because, frankly, I was pretty sure that's what they would do. CNN was much more honorable. The debate we had with Biden was a much more honorably run debate, but this was incredible. I mean, everything, so many things I said were debunked, totally debunked, like Charlottesville, I have a list of 7 different things, and she could say anything she wanted, everything, every time I spoke, and my stuff was right. They'd correct you. I thought it was terrible from the standpoint of ABC. They're the most dishonest, in my opinion, the most dishonest news organization. And that's saying a lot because they're all essentially really dishonest. But I thought I did a great job. It was 3-1, and I thought I did a great job. Now, we sent you the polls, but every single poll last night had me winning like 90-10. We had C-SPAN. At one point was at 80-20, and I don't know how it finished. I was late last night, so I have no idea, but it was at 80-20. I told that to Brett Baer, and so we sent him a lot of polls, and we sent you a lot of polls this morning. And every single poll had us winning by a lot, despite the fact that it was an unfair debate, obviously. And it was a 3-1, and that's okay. I've had worse odds.
I don't know. I don't know about the polls because I haven't seen them. But what I saw was that I didn't feel as though he performed as well as he should have, and that she performed better than expected. I think that's the best way to phrase it. What is interesting is that when you look at all these big polls that were coming out, like the New York Times and whatever, before the debate, it's very tight. It's 49-49, or CNN did an aggregate poll where it took the averages of everything, and they said that Harris was at 47 and Trump was at 45, which I don't believe. But here's the problem. What's the methodology when you're looking at these polls? Is it in the same kind of composition when you're doing the sampling as the Electoral College? Or is it really more representative of the popular vote? Because the popular vote, it's going to be tight either way. It's going to be almost 50-50 split on the popular vote. With the Electoral College, it's totally different if Pennsylvania and Michigan go to a particular candidate. It's radically different. That's why I'm saying that Michigan and Pennsylvania need to hold the line for the Republican Party, or this country, at least at the executive branch, is going to go socialist.
Had it before, but never so obvious. A lot of people are very angry about it. You have corrupt news organizations. You have a lot of bad people. It's amazing in that business. In your business.
Yeah, Mr. President, we kind of expected it because when you look at Media Research Center, they said 100% of the stories covered on ABC about Kamala, 100% of the time was positive. 93% of the time when they covered you, it was negative. So it was infuriating to watch them fact check you and not her when she brought up IVF, when she brought up Project 2025 several times, and when she brought up Charlottesville. Here are some of the lies that she said about you. Listen.
A detailed and dangerous plan called Project 2025 that the former president intends on implementing if couples who pray and dream of having a family are being denied IVF treatments. If Donald Trump were to be reelected, he will sign a national abortion ban. And what did the president then at the time say? There were 5 people on each side. On that day,
I'm going to do a further video on this, but why did if crotch rights, all right, if reproductive rights were so important to the Democratic Party, why didn't they codify when they had power in Congress and in the executive branch to codify these types of rights at the federal level? Because the legal experts knew they were on shaky foundation in terms of Roe versus Wade. Roe v. Wade. Right? They knew that they were on shaky ground. So when they were in control, when the Democratic Party was in control of Congress and the White House, in control of the Senate, the House of Representatives, and the White House, they could have codified through a bill the federalization of abortion rights. They didn't do it. You know why? Because there's 2 things that the Democratic Party wants. They want to make sure that blacks vote in a block, and they want to make sure that women vote in a block. And the way you do it is in terms of the crotch rights, the way you do it is to just keep pushing the can down the road in terms of trying to solve the problem. And that way you can always demonize the Republican Party, saying that they're against women's rights and that women will be voting as a bloc. Well, you know what, women in the United States, you need to wake up because you're being used by the Democratic Party. Proof positive, they could have codified this for over a 50-year period. They've had a chance. Over a 50-year period, they had a chance to codify it at the federal level. Because the legal experts knew that Roe v. Wade was on shaky ground. But almost every single election, they stirred it up so you can go to the election box. Because the Democratic Party doesn't want you to think. They want you to be a one-issue voter. Now, in terms of the black vote, they want you to think in a, on the plantation too, the urban plantation. You vote in a block, thinking, because your situation is socioeconomically deprived, thinking that only the Democratic Party is going to save your social economic situation. The reality of the situation is that these urban centers are run by Democrats, and your urban center is getting worse and worse, one election cycle after another. So get off the plantation. Stop voting as a bloc and vote where policies will actually give you the opportunities to build businesses, to get more educated, and to be a more productive citizen, and your family will be more vibrant. It's the pursuit of liberty and happiness and justice in the United States. And how you do that is taking responsibility and trying to build skills that will make you more productive. The Democratic Party wants the black to vote in a block. and they want you to be in the doldrums economically, so you vote for their social policies. Women, they want you to vote as a bloc because they don't want to they don't want to really solve the abortion issue. If you think I'm wrong, maybe you need to take a look at American history for the last 50, 60 years. Blacks have been voting as a bloc for the Democratic Party, not solving your problems. Women have been voting for crotch rights, election after election, because the Democratic Party doesn't want to solve your problem. So what happens with Trump, with the Supreme Court, they basically said, this is not a federal issue. This is a state issue. So if you live in a state and you want those things to happen, then pass bills at your state legislature and have them signed by your governor to give you those abortion rights and to codify it in your state. What's wrong with that? Oh, you want it to be at a federal level because they know that it'll never be passed at a federal level. So they'll just keep on kicking the can down the road as an issue. So your women keep on voting in a particular block. The Democratic Party doesn't want to solve your problems because they know that if they solve your problem, you will no longer vote Democrat. That's the big issue. So stop being a one-issue voter.
$140 law enforcement officers were injured, and some died. Donald Trump, the candidate, has said in this election there will be a bloodbath if this and the outcome of this election is not to his liking.
And the bloodbath you were talking about,
I was just about to say that. The bloodbath that he was talking about was an economic term about how bad things would be.
it's a term that's used a lot when people are talking about a bad economy. What's your reaction to why did the moderators correct her?
Because they're dishonest, and because I think ABC took a big hit last night. I mean, to be honest, they're a news organization. They have to be licensed to do it. They ought to take away their license for the way they did that. Bloodbath was referring to the economy. Everybody loved the term because as soon as they heard the word, it's sort of a vicious word. But referring to the economy, they have created an economy. Bloodbath was the word that I used. And it was fine in that context. And they were trying to make it sound like there was a riot or something. And it was a bloodbath. IVF, I was a leader on IVF. The IVF, which is fertilization, I was a total leader on that. When I first heard about it, like right from the beginning, I was one of the leaders on it. And the Republican Party has been a leader on it. She tried to say it was just the opposite. The whole thing with abortion, what he said, I mean, it was incredible. I think he corrected me 6 times, and each time I was right. I believe each time I was right, didn't correct her at all, and she was saying these things. She was using like Charlottesville. She was using Charlottesville, and everybody, you take a look at Laura Ingraham, she did it incredibly. She had it totally debunked. She said that, in fact, it makes it angry. She gets angry when people hear about Charlottesville when they use that, because what they did is they stopped and they didn't put the following sentence in. And when they put the last sentence in, when it was all put together, what I said was absolutely perfect. And ABC knew that. Everybody knew that, frankly. I think they lost a lot of credibility. But regardless, look, the polls are saying that I won that by 80, 20, 90, we have one here, 92-7. And I sort of believe that's right. I thought, look, I've been told I'm a good debater. I think it was one of my better debates, maybe my best debate, I think. I don't know. That's why I'm disappointed in this guy, Harold Ford. I don't know if he's still there, but I don't know what he was watching, because he was just as dishonest as ABC, in my opinion.
Mr. President, I interrupted a moment ago. They just on the face of the Pentagon, every year for the last 23 years, we have gone down to the Pentagon at 6:46. That's sunrise down in the Washington, D.C. area, when they unfurl that flag to commemorate American Airlines Flight 77 that crashed into the Pentagon. It killed all 64 on board, 125 people at the Pentagon, 184 people lost their lives 23 years ago today. And I know you are going to take part in some of the commemorations as well here in New York City and in Pennsylvania.
That's right. I'll be doing that.
At Harbor Freight, we're committed to keeping our quality high and our prices low. We've managed to cut out the middleman. Our expert engineers work direct.
That's right. I'll be doing that in a little while. In fact, right after this call, I leave. I'm going down to the World Trade Center site, and I'll be down there for much of it. JD's going with me, and we had a great talk about it yesterday.
And that's why it is so important that you bring in a person into the White House that disrupts the national security state, because the national security state caused this issue. The national security state was part of 9/11, all right? And they built out, they got a lot more powerful through the Patriot Act and all this stuff. And now we have a ballooning bureaucracy and a national security state that isn't beholden to the people, that feels that they can do whatever they want. We need a president that goes in and truncates that truncates the national security state, because the national security state is starting to be weaponized against the citizens and against political opponents. And you have the demonization of Trump and the lawfare that's going on. What about the demonization on the lawfare going on against talk show pundits to try to prevent them from speaking, or shadow banning them, preventing them to have reach, investigating them, saying that they're part of some sort of cabal with some sort of entity, some foreign entity, either in China or from Russia or whatever. That's happening. There's the weaponization of the national security state on the citizens. That's a big problem. We need a president that pushes back. Now, is Trump that person? I don't know. But Harris definitely is not.
Very sad, the horrible day. Horrible day. There's never been anything like it. Just a horrible day. And then going to Pennsylvania, of course. And so I'm going to be doing both of them. Sometimes I'll do all three. Sometimes it doesn't work out when they're sort of simultaneously done. But we're going to be doing two of them today.
So last night, all three planes are there. You got Air Force 2, you got Trump Force 1, JD Vance's plane. We're all together. You guys are going to be at the site together. President Biden, I think, will be there. Are you going to say anything to them?
Oh, I don't know. I'm not sure. It's, look, everybody should be very angry at how badly they've run this country. Millions of people are floating into our country. Many of them should not be here. They're criminals, many criminals coming in, many terrorists coming in, people coming, they're emptying their jails into our country. They're emptying, think of it, they're emptying their mental institutions. People that are mentally ill are being dropped into our country. And these two people, and it's both of them, they allow it to happen. What they're doing is terrible. I saw your report yesterday in Ohio, with Springfield, Ohio, and Aurora. If you look at Colorado, Colorado, these thugs from Venezuela and Aurora have taken over. People from Haiti, I guess, have come in illegally, totally coming illegally into our country.
Do you think you made that point last night?
Ohio.
Do you think you made that point last night, that you believe the border is directly affecting all these cities and all these towns?
Yes.
Oh, I think I made it twice or maybe even three times. In fact, I said, I wonder if I'm saying this too much. How can you say it too much? They've allowed 21 million, I think is the real number, could be more than that, 21, that's bigger than New York State. They've allowed 21 million people to come into our country. Many of these people are criminals. And by the way, those countries are being emptied out of their criminals, and their crime rates are way down. Their prison populations are being dumped into the United States. Their populations in prison are way down. Their mental institutions, their populations are way down. And it's all over the world. It's not just South America. They're coming in from the Congo and Africa. They're coming in from all over the world, the Middle East, Europe, Asia. They're coming in from everywhere, not just South America. And they're coming in at numbers you've never seen. They're literally destroying our country. These people, I have no idea. Or maybe they do. The only reason they can be doing it is because they hate our country. They hate our country.
Yeah, I mean, when you compare the border numbers, the terror watch list suspects under you, there were 11, under Kamala Harris, 375. Now, foreign policy did come up at last night's debate. Listen to this soundbite, or our audience can listen to this and we'll get your reaction on the other side.
If she's president, I believe that Israel will not exist within 2 years from now. Look at what's going on in the Middle East. This would have never happened. I will get that settled and fast, and I'll get the war with Ukraine and Russia ended. If I'm president-elect, I'll get it.
When he asked the question, when the moderator was asking the question, I felt that Trump didn't answer the question. Because my recollection was that, what will you do specifically? He had a generic statement or stump speech that he's going to be more forceful in the region, and he's just going to negotiate peace and, and stop the rockets from flowing from Hezbollah and Hamas, right? He didn't go into specifics. I think that was a failed point. I think that was a weakness in his rhetoric. But I think that his policy in terms of international affairs would be much stronger. He's a much stronger person, much stronger leader. And when you're a strong leader, you're going to be able to negotiate things that weak leaders can't negotiate. But he didn't say it that way. And so, unfortunately, on the average, Americans have an IQ of 98. All right? That's a problem. Now, there's many reasons why this is happening. The food, not paying attention to the education, too much bread and circus, too much screen time. Smartphones actually make you stupid. Fluoride in the water makes you stupid. All right? Not enough people reading. That's an issue. So I'm not sure that the American public, on the average, is understanding the nuances that are really important. Because by understanding the nuances, you'll see on how our civil liberties and our economy as a capitalist nation will erode through socialism. And we need an educated electorate. Really important. But unfortunately, to fix this problem that the United States has, you're talking about focusing on the younger generation so when they come up to adulthood and start becoming productive citizens, hopefully, that will have a much stronger nation. The average American is a dumbass. And until we admit to the problem, we can't fix
it. Before even becoming president.
Well, I will tell you, I agreed with President Biden's decision to pull out of Afghanistan. Donald Trump, when he was president, negotiated one of the weakest deals you can imagine. He calls himself a deal maker. Even his national security advisor said it was a weak, terrible deal.
It was a very good agreement. The reason it was good.
No, here's the problem. Here's the problem. You have to dive into the details. Got to dive into the details. There was a list of things that had to happen before the pullout. and it had to be in sequence. They didn't follow the sequence. Therefore, it was a disaster. Trump had a sequence of events that had to take place for withdrawal from Afghanistan. Biden administration cut corners. That's why it happened. All right. The people that are going against Trump in terms of a weak deal is the national security state that wanted never-ending war. See, this is what I mean by Trump is potentially the person that can truncate this national security state issue that we have. That's been warned by JFK, warned by Truman, warned by Eisenhower, even warned by Nixon, even though we know the problems with Nixon. You had other presidents that were educated, that were knowledgeable, that saw a major problem with the national security state. So when someone says, your military advisors say blah, 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 most of them don't win wars, can't win wars, make bad decisions, and are part of an apparatus that needs to be truncated.
We were getting out. We would have been out faster than that, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind. They blew it.
You said when you were at the town hall with Sean Hannity, you said a lot of people, you might not like me, but you're safer under me. You have more money in your bank accounts under me. So why do you think our country would be safer under you, Mr. President?
Because I deal with foreign policy. I'll give you an example. Afghanistan, we had a great agreement, but it was agreement subject to them doing a lot of different things. They didn't do those things. And when they didn't do them, we terminated the agreement. These clowns had no idea what to do. They had Milley, who's incompetent. They had Biden, who's incompetent. All of the people are incompetent. Nobody ever gets fired. They don't fire anybody. They let them just stay on, retire, no problem. Milley should have been fired and reprimanded like you've never seen. These people.
Not only that, you see, not only that, you look at Milley, and all those medals on his chest, and you compare a picture of Eisenhower, who actually got things done, all right, like win World War II. The accomplishments of Eisenhower versus Milley are a night and day difference. So it's just a lot of participation medals now with these generals. So I'm not a big fan of Milley, and Milley wasn't a big fan of Trump. And the national security state, and part of that national security state is the military, was trying to circumvent our president of the United States, our 45th president of the United States. That's what was going on. Now, if you don't believe me, start paying it. Listen to some of the books, even if they're anti-Trump books. Listen to what John Bolton's saying. He's not a fan of Trump, all right? But if you listen to the nuance, you will understand how the national security state was trying to circumvent Trump. Read Pompeo's book. Read John Bolton's book. Read Kushner's book. I've done that. I've done that actually just recently, all right? And I'm telling you, when you pay attention to the nuance, you start to understand what really happened in the White House, all right? Pay attention to the nuance. And you had a national security state that tried to circumvent the president of the United States. Now, what is interesting here is that he's showing strength with these interviews with Fox. I'm willing to bet, I don't know for sure, but I'm willing to bet that Harris isn't doing the same on the liberal media. Because she can't think. She had to prep really hard. She did better than I expected. She did better than a lot of people expected. And unfortunately, I don't feel as though that Trump was hitting on all cylinders. And that's a problem. When you're razor thin in terms of margin in the polls for Michigan and Pennsylvania. He has to win. He has to win. And so you have the economy and fracking, so the energy policy and the economy are big issues in Pennsylvania. The issues in Michigan are going to be the economy, EV policy, right? Electric vehicle policy, how it's going to affect the auto industry, manufacturing jobs, and abortion rights. All right. So there's this, and they know that Harris is weak on the economy. Her whole energy policy is bullshit. So Trump should take Michigan. The problem is that they have this crotch right issue that that the Democratic Party never really wanted to solve. So now it's going to galvanize all these women that are going to be one issue voters and try to make Michigan turn blue, have Michigan vote blue. Meanwhile, probably the natural trend wants to vote red. The worst thing that a citizen can do is be a one-issue voter. No matter if you're a Democrat or a Republican. If you're voting only for a Republican because you want, you want to curtail abortion availability, and that's the only thing you care about, you're doing a disservice because you're not paying attention to the other really important things like national security and the economy. Same thing on the other side. If you're only voting to have more abortions in your state, you're not paying attention to the long game, and that's the economy and national security. Don't be a one-issue voter. It causes huge issues. So in the United States, then you have this big evangelical constituency that's one issue only voter, and then you have another constituency that's typically young females, all right, that are pushing crotch rights. They never want to solve the problem, because every election, that's how they're going to be able to get young voters in. And that's how they're going to galvanize half of the nation, that's women, by just constantly saying that this is an issue on the ballot. Why has it been an issue on the ballot for 52 years? If the Democratic Party can't solve an issue for 52 years, maybe they don't have a solution.
Millions of dollars worth of equipment behind, yet 13 dead soldiers. They shouldn't have used that airport. They should have used Bagram, which, by the way, they gave up, and they shouldn't have given it up because that's only 1 hour away from China, where they make their nuclear weapons. No, they took a good agreement,
right,
but the agreement was subject to the.
So this is the problem with the Biden administration. All right, they knew that Ukraine was going to be problematic, and they had to get out of Afghanistan and focus their energies in Ukraine. So that was part of the reason why they were rushing through. Also, there was activity that was going on by the Taliban. All right. Plus, he had to placate to his base that wanted to be out of Afghanistan. That's another issue. But it's also that pullout strengthened the position for China. And I've been saying this for years, that China is going to be a major military threat to the United States. And it's really important to have a multi-front approach with China. That means an eastern front through the Pacific, a southern front through India, a western front from the Middle East, and a northern front from Russia. I've been saying that for years. That Biden's just threw away the Western Front.
Taliban doing things. And remember this, and ending that. I went 18 months without one soldier killed. I spoke to the head of the Taliban, Abdul, and I said, I had a nice tough talk with him. Not one soldier was killed in 18 months until that catastrophe happened. It was absolutely, we were running it perfectly. But the agreement didn't mean anything because they had to, in other words,
It was
to have the
conditions
agreement
based.
kick in.
It was
Yeah,
conditions based.
they didn't do the things. Who would take the military out first? They were incompetent. They took the military out first. You're supposed to take the military out last. And they left lots of Americans behind. And then they had the worst airlift nobody's ever seen. People falling off an airplane from 3,000 feet in the air. Many people. They are incompetent and they shouldn't be running the country. And we'll end up in World War III because of these fools.
I'm Steve Ducey.
I'm Brian Kilmeade.
And I'm Ainsley Earhart. And click here to subscribe to the Fox.
He was hitting on all cylinders during that interview by Fox. He needs to hit on all cylinders when he's in these high pressure debates. We'll go to another video, but before that, I need to go to commercial because this is PNN. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get these supplements and all the different health products that I have on my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. Link is in the description of the video. I have 3 different versions of drops. This is made from structural nanosilver. This helps to neutralize pathogens and create those secretions and protect the mucosal barrier in your oral cavity so you reduce the chances of getting sick. You need to have a couple bags in your household because during the cold season, the moment you start feeling irritation, you need to neutralize that irritation before it gets worse. All right, so get a couple bags. I have 3 different flavors. I have it in blueberry. I also have it in cherry and in honey and lemon. All right. They're high quality and each bag has 100 drops in it. All right. Now, I also have lozenges, which are a little bit larger. I have it in elderberry zinc lozenges and manuka honey. And in these bags, there's 21 count. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get a couple bags of the lozenges or the drops, a couple bags for your household, because you're going to need this during the cold season and neutralize that pathogen and maintain that mucosal barrier. Really important. Same thing, you know what? A lot of chemtrail spraying is happening in the United States. That's a fact. All right. They're trying to do geoengineering in the stratosphere and the atmosphere at different levels. And they're doing these experiments. All right. That's been admitted. All right. Now, they're probably doing a lot of other things that they're not admitted to. But the thing is that the issue is that they're spraying stuff in our air. And there's going to be more people getting throat irritations. Really important to neutralize those throat irritations, because if you start to feel something, a problem, all right, it could be a pathogen, it could be an irritant, it could be an antigen of some sort. But by having the lozenges or the drops, you're neutralizing the pathogen and you're creating the secretions around that irritant to prevent further inflammation in your epithelial lining. If you neutralize it early, you're reducing the chances of having problems. That's why I keep on saying, the moment you have some sort of irritation in your throat because of a cold or the spraying of stuff in your atmosphere or around your, around your community, it's really important to take these structural nanosilver lozenges to neutralize it. All right? And that way you're maintaining the mucosal barrier. Because if your mucosal barrier is weakened and inflamed, you have higher probability of getting sick. Very simple. So go to the store and get a couple bags of these. So the moment you have an irritation from it, you can neutralize the problem. And you can trust me or not, I don't really care. The damn thing works. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. All right, and get the lozenges and get the drops. In addition, because there's lots of chemicals in your water, in your food, there are forever chemicals on your clothing, And in the air that we breathe, there's the chemtrails, there's the bug spraying that just recently happened with the mosquitoes. There's chemtrails and, you know, poisons in our modern day world. We need to detoxify our body. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite. Zeolite removes heavy metals and chemicals and toxins out of your body. You just put a few drops underneath your tongue, drink it with water, and you do this on a daily basis, and it's gonna soak up those toxins, chemicals, and heavy metals. How does it work? Zeolite is a negatively charged molecule. It will soak up the positively charged molecules, these toxins, right, and heavy metals, and you will urinate it out in 6 to 8 hours. So this is a way to detoxify your body. It's really important to detoxify your body. We have these forever chemicals because of the plastics and the water repellents and all this stuff that's in our daily life that we breathe in and we ingest through water and through our foods. Stop by filtering your water so you can get those forever chemicals out and get those heavy metals out, and stop eating processed foods. Eat more healthier foods, all right? When you do that, you're stopping the ingestion phase of this. Then the next part is to detox. So you detox by using zeolite. Again, zeolite is a negatively charged molecule that will soak up positively charged toxins, chemicals, heavy metals, and you will urinate it out in 6 to 8 hours. Really important. Put the drops underneath your tongue. Take some water, filtered water, all right? Really important. Now, if you're on medication, you need to talk to your doctor before you take zeolite, because some of your medication, when it gets metabolized, may turn into a positively charged molecule, and zeolite may think that that's actually a toxin and try to neutralize it and urinate it out quicker. That means that your dosage would go down because the zeolite is neutralizing it. So you need to talk to your doctor before you take zeolite if you're on medication. But if you're not on medication, take the zeolite on a regular basis and detoxify your body. There's lots of chemicals that are in our bloodstream and in our tissues, especially PFAS and PFOS. There are heavy metals, and there are these chemicals that we're breathing in and ingesting because of a bad air supply, food supply, and water supply. It's really important. So please go to the store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the zeolite. All right. Let's see what they have to say.
The sales CRM that keeps you on track. PipeDrive, driving business growth.
Hunter Douglas dealers will help you find the perfect shade for every room in your home.
The United States Congress, including some of the most conservative members of the United States Senate, came up with a border security bill, which I supported. And that bill would have put 1,500 more border agents on the border. Donald Trump got on the phone, called up some folks in Congress and said,
you don't need a new bill. Just follow the fucking law. Coming over the border illegally is illegal. We have plenty of border patrol officers there, and you need to be more forceful with the countries that are sending their illegal immigrants here. And you need to use our Justice Department and start investigating the NGOs that are forcing this on our borders, such as investigating George Soros. But George Soros's open society conglomerate, philanthropic conglomerate, isn't the only issue. That's how you solve the problem. And you finish building the wall. And you prosecute the people that are coming over the border, and you go after the people that are here illegally now that may have been here for years. That's how you solve the problem. Now they're going to say, well, they've established their life and they have kids and all this. If they come over with their kids, the kids are illegal. Therefore, they need to be all sent back. So they broke the law. They need to be sent back. If they had an anchor baby here, then you got to give them some choices. You can either pick up your anchor baby and go back to your home country. It's your choice. You can leave and leave the anchor baby here and it goes into foster care, or some sort of naturalization of the whole family to become legal immigrants, but be taxed at a higher rate for X amount of years to be punished for doing something illegal. We should not be rewarding illegal immigrants amnesty because they broke the law. They are trying to get freebies, free social programs, and they're taking away from other resources that are for citizens of this United States. For example, we are not treating our veterans correctly. We are not treating the people that have physical disabilities correctly, that need help financially. We need to pay attention more for our veterans, and we need to pay attention to individuals that have physical problems. But instead, those resources are being diverted and going to illegal immigrants. Is that right? Is that right? Think about that. Someone that, let's say, enlisted right after 9/11 and served in Iraq or Afghanistan. Let's say they did two tours of duty and they get hit by a mine or something and lose their leg. They're not getting the right health care that they deserve because illegal immigrants are using the limited resources that we have financially. That's wrong. That's just wrong.
Oh, the bill.
I would say we would both leave this debate right now. I'd like to see her go down to Washington, D.C. during this debate because we're wasting a lot of time. Go down to, because she's been so bad, it's so ridiculous. Go down to Washington, D.C. and let her sign a bill.
No, I'll roll this back. But the thing is that was a great move that he did. That's 30 seconds in, all right, of the video. Great move that he did, because what it does is it shows in a Trumpian way, in a very New York bombastic way, how she didn't get the job done. You don't need legislation. You just need to follow the fucking law. But they're afraid because of their constituents.
Close up the border because they have the right to do it. They don't need bills. They have the right to do it. The president of the United States, you'll get him out of bed. You'll wake him up at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You'll say, come on down to the office. Let's sign a bill.
That was former President Donald Trump and Vice President Kamala Harris sparring over the border crisis during the ABC News presidential debate last night. Joining me now, Louisiana Congressman and Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson. Speaker, good morning to you. And first, your reaction to the debate last night.
Well, I'll tell you what, President Donald Trump is the reigning presidential debate champion. And even though the contest was 3-1 last night, he clearly prevailed. I looked at 7 or 8 polls this morning, viewer polls. I mean, Newsmax had him winning 93-6. C-SPAN had him 65-35 as the victor. The Daily Caller says it was 73-9, something like 73-8. They gave 19 points to the moderators because they were so lost.
Monday.com allows you to run any type of operation, even if it's mermaid migration. Automate workflows, track progress, and get things done. Monday.com, or whatever you run.
Points to the moderators because they were so lopsided for the other side, fact-checking only Trump and allowing her to escape through that. This is what stuck out to me, Cheryl. Kamala Harris has not done any real debates. Obviously, she hasn't done any interviews since she was coronated as the queen here, and she had 50 days to memorize her lines. So she went out last night and delivered the lines as if she was an actor in a play. But that's the thing; it's an act. It was phony. She lied about her record. She lied about President Trump's record, and she got away with it. The thing that people appreciate so much about President Trump is his authenticity. He's real. It comes from the heart. He did expose so many of her policy failures, but he needed 5 hours to unfurl them. That's the problem. She's trying to pretend that she's somebody totally different than we know that she is, and her entire record shows. And it's a farce. They're running a campaign on a fantasy instead of facts. But I'm telling you what, the people are going to vote on record over rhetoric. We're going to win this election.
Well, and there was certainly a lot of questions about the economy.
I don't know. I do not put that much faith in the intelligence level of the average American, because the data is showing that they have less than 100 IQ. They average at 98. Now, there's lots of reasons for that. That's the food problem. That's the toxin problem. That's the educational issues, not paying attention during the formative years. It's the drug abuse. It's the lack of exercise. It's the bread and circus. It's lack of really diving in intellectually as an adult. The average American, I don't trust. I don't trust the average American making the right decision. So if Trump can't hit on all cylinders, then the average American will have a tendency to be hoodwinked by the Democratic Party. The Democratic Party needs you to be stupid. So you will vote in line with their policies.
Last night, but the border was front and center, and that is something that you are focused on. Let's get to the business of the day, Speaker. The House is set to hold a final vote today on your plan to tie the SAVE Act to a continuing resolution from the government for 6 more months, avoid a partial government shutdown. 2 House GOP lawmakers voted against that procedural hurdle yesterday to advance the bill. You've got this slim 4-seat majority right now. Republicans likely need the help of Democrats to get this passed today. I want to ask you about that. If it does pass, it would help secure the upcoming election by preventing non-citizens from voting. But here's what Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer had to say about it yesterday. To you, watch.
The House should stop wasting time on a partisan CR that's going nowhere and work in a bipartisan way to get this done. We're ready to sit down with them and discuss a bipartisan bill. But Speaker Johnson has not reached out to Leader Jeffries, Leader Schumer, myself, or the White House.
You know, Speaker, we had Congressman Austin Scott in the last hour, and he said that basically he's concerned that Republicans will lose the House if there is a government shutdown. You had President Trump writing on Truth Social that said basically if Republicans don't get absolute assurances on election security, they should in no way, shape, or form go forward with the CR. He's calling for a government shutdown. I want to get your thoughts on that, because is there long-term political consequences to you, to the party, if we were to head to a full government shutdown in an election year?
Look, I don't believe it's going to come to that. President Trump and I are on the same page, as is every Republican here. We have to ensure election security. I've been traveling the country nonstop, Cheryl. For the last 8 months, I've done campaign events in 198 cities across 39 states. It does not matter where I am, blue state, swing district, it doesn't matter. The first or second question in every single audience from every single question is about election security. People are deeply concerned about this because of all the madness that happened in 2020 and what they've seen roll out on the news. And now we know for a fact, non-citizens are registered to vote in so many states around the country. We have to solve this problem. The last train leaving the state.
Non-citizen, this is the problem with illegal immigration. All right. You don't know if there's impropriety that's going on in our election cycle. Now, how legit is the vote? Just by the roster, let alone what's going on with the machines and ballot stuffing. It's just wrong. But it's propagated because the American citizen is too stupid to do anything about it. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and don't be an idiot. Get my vitamin C. It helps to boost up your immune system and also helps with your skin. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. You're going to need this. You're going into the cold season. If you're not feeling well, take a double dose. Drink it with water. Multivitamin, easy to digest. This is a high quality vitamin. You should be taking a multivitamin every day. Why? Because they're cofactors for enzymatic activity. So you have proper cellular and tissue metabolism and activity. All right. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get this great multivitamin. Lastly, omega-3, really important to help with your cardiovascular health. It'll bring down LDL levels, increase your HDL levels, and it will help to prevent the stickiness of your red blood cells. So please go to my store, take the omega-3, should be taking this every day for proper cardiovascular health.
Is the CR, the continuing resolution, government funding. Why? Because Chuck Schumer in the Senate has not done a single appropriations bill. They have completely failed in their duty. So there's nothing on the table for us to negotiate. So we have to do a resolution to keep the government going. We attach the SAVE Act to it because the SAVE Act simply says that states have to have proof of citizenship from someone before they sign up to participate in the elections. This is a serious problem. We have races in Congress, in the House, that are decided by tiny margins. I have a colleague here that won her first race in 2020 by 6 votes. We have colleagues, many that have won their races by just a couple hundred votes. We have about 16 million. Votes. We have about 16 million illegals who have come across that border since border czar Harris opened it up with Joe Biden. If just a small percentage of them participate in this election, they can throw House races, they can upset the majority here, they might even determine the outcome of the presidential. This is real, serious, present danger, and we have an obligation to do everything we possibly can to secure that election. We owe it to the American people.
2 quick things here that you mentioned. So first off, I'm curious, if the SAVE Act were, if this were to pass, if the Senate were to pass it, which Schumer says they won't, but if it did, could you even put these rules in place before November? That's question number 1. Question number 2 is, do you have a fallback plan if indeed the Senate does block this?
Well, look, Chuck Schumer needs to be serious and honest with the American people. I'd love to sit down with Chuck Schumer. We should debate the SAVE Act. In fact, I'd love to have him on a national debate to do that, but he won't, because they have no way to explain why they would want to allow illegals to participate in the election. But that's what the open border has been about the entire time. We know that this is going on and we have to stop it. We're not talking about contingency plans. We're in this to win it. We're in it to deliver for the American people. The American people demand and deserve we have a fair election.
This is the point that I was making with the Democrats voting only one issue, the crotch rights issue, the abortion rights issue, and not paying attention to the integrity of our elections because of the illegal immigration that's taking place. So by not paying attention to the illegal immigration issue, not paying attention to building the wall, and only focusing on abortion rights, we are now at the place that we're at now. We're at this nexus because of one issue voters. Now our election is totally up in the air. Is it legitimate or not? We don't even know. We can't even definitively say that our elections are not fraudulent because of these crazy things that are going on with the illegal immigration. Because of one issue voters. Not paying attention to the other really important things like national security and the economy and the legitimacy of our voting system. People need to wake up, get engaged, and make the country more prosperous. And all the bread and circus isn't helping.
They're arguing that it's already illegal, but we have lots of things that are on the books. It's about enforcement of the law, and that's what we're trying to push here. We're going to do that today and every day until we get it done.
But just real quick, so, but can any provisions in the SAVE Act be implemented before November? We're less than 2 months from the election.
Yeah, one of the provisions is that every Secretary of State needs to audit their voter rolls before they have Election Day on November 5th. Some of the states are early voting. We need to do this. We passed it weeks ago. The Senate has been sitting on it. We got to force it.
Okay. Before you go, Speaker Johnson, and thank you for your time. Today does mark 23 years since the September 11th, 2001 terrorist attacks. We are remembering all of those friends, colleagues, the people that we lost here in New York City, in Northern Virginia, at the Pentagon, and Shanksville, Pennsylvania. Speaker Johnson, I wanted to get your thoughts on the momentum of, the memories of today, and obviously those that we are honoring that we've lost.
Always a tough day. We'll be doing a wreath laying ceremony, sorry, in the Rotunda here this morning, as we do every year. 9/11 left a big scar on our country, but it also made us more resilient. It changed the way we live. It reminded us that we do indeed live in the greatest nation in the history of the world, and the people who were brave enough to defend it deserve our great thanks and our honor every single day. We did that here in the Rotunda yesterday with the Afghanistan families, 13 service members who were lost.
U.S. Vice. All right. Before we go to the next video, I'm going to do a commercial. This one is DW to get an idea of international news and how they see our whole debate process. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the deodorants that I have. I have citrus, and I also have peppermint, lavender, and tea tree. These deodorants are for males and females. It's made from essential oils from the Himalayas. It's all natural. It has no baking soda in it. It has no aluminum in it. It's all natural. It's for males and females, and it's a dual purpose product. Not only do you use it as a deodorant, but it'll help to detoxify your body. Really important. If you pay attention to what I've been saying, detoxify your body, lower the inflammation, neutralize pathogens, soak up those free radicals, take lots of antioxidants, and that way you don't disrupt your endocrine system and you have a better immune system. So please go to my store and get a couple bars of these deodorants. They're very high quality. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. And don't be stupid. The-studio-reykjavik.com also carries digestive enzyme complex. Why do you need digestive enzyme complex? Because it has many enzymes in this that will help to break up carbohydrates, proteins, and lipids. That means that it's reducing the load on your pancreas. As we get older, we need to help our pancreas health. All right? And that way you're digesting your food better and you're going to be able to absorb it better and put less stress on your pancreas. If you work out, if you're an athlete and you need to refuel for your body for recovery, take the digestive enzyme complex that help for that refueling process. In addition, there's proteolytic and fibrinolytic enzymes in this supplement. Bromelain is a fibrinolytic compound that helps to break up clots. Really important. I also have proteolytic enzymes in this complex to help break up glycoproteins. That was really important in 2020. And that's why I kept on saying for 4 years, go to my store and take the digestive enzyme complex. So please go to the store, get the digestive enzyme complex and help with your pancreatic health. Lignans, really important to boost up your immune system. It's a powder. There's a scooper in here. You take a scooper a day, you mix it with your food or with water. Take it every day. It'll help to boost up your immune system. In addition, it will also help with your hormonal health for males and females. Really important. Because our endocrine systems have been disrupted by the toxins in our everyday environment. You need to boost up your immune system. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the lignans to boost up your immune system. In addition, because of the crisis that we went through in 2020, all right, and all of the crazy stuff that was going on with inoculations, your immune system is fucking trashed. And the only way to fix it is supplementation, detoxifying your body, and time. You need time for your immune system to heal. You need to take proper supplementation to boost up that immune system and reduce that endocrine disruption. And you need to detoxify your body. I've told you how to do it. Just go to my store and get the supplements to do it. Want to boost up your immune system and help with your endocrine system? Get the lignans. the-studio-reykjavik.com. Not only do I tell you that there are problems in this world, I also give you solutions that are very high quality solutions, that are comprehensive. I'm pretty sure I'm the only one that does that.
President Kamala Harris and former President Donald Trump have held their only planned debate of this year's presidential campaign. US network ABC hosted the first personal encounter of the two contestants in Philadelphia, which is in the highly competitive swing state of Pennsylvania. We'll go to Washington for analysis in just a moment, but first, here's Donald Trump attacking Kamala Harris on migration by repeating an unproved allegation about irregular migrants.
In Springfield, they're eating the dogs, the people that came in. They're eating the cats. They're eating the pets of the people that live there. And this is what's happening in our country. And it's a shame.
Donald Trump was asked also if he had any regrets over his role in the Capitol.
J.D. Vance was interviewed on CNN after the debate, all right? And he said that secondary and primary individuals that are tied to this whole thing, saying that they saw it, all right, where certain pets are missing in the environment and that are being slaughtered, all right? So what J.D. Vance did was said to CNN, instead of whining about what Trump is saying and what the posts are on X and on some of these social media networks, why don't you go into the area and investigate? Because it seems like it's a problem. But there's a bigger issue here. And that is, not only do you have illegal immigration, but you bring in a culture that is not copacetic with American values. All right? They need to naturalize to a new culture. We, the American people, don't need to naturalize to the culture of the immigrant. The immigrant naturalizes to the culture of that they're immigrating to. That's one issue. Independent of if they're eating cats or dogs, don't really care. All right. The other issue, because they're not naturalizing, it's a problem. They need to assimilate to the culture that they're moving towards. They shouldn't be doing it illegally, that's for sure. But there's another issue, and that is socialism leads to poverty, and poverty leads to unethical things. That's the bigger issue. And Harris represents socialism and communism.
Right, on January the 6th, 2021. Trump didn't answer that question, but here's Kamala Harris, the vice president, on the threat she believes Trump is posing to American democracy.
Donald Trump was fired by 81 million people. So let's be clear about that. And clearly he is having a very difficult time processing that. But we cannot...
It's not for sure that there wasn't improprieties with the election process in 2020, because Dominion was never audited. The Akamai backbone network was never audited. We don't know what the code is in the machines. They do a ballot. How they test these things is they do a ballot. They type in the ballot and they get scanned, and then they get a printout before the election. All right, they're testing the machine. So let's just say you test the machine. You have two ballots. You have one that's voting Republican. You have another one that's voting Democrat, and you feed it into the system. All right, and the printout will say one ballot for Republican, one ballot for one vote for Democrat. Okay. How do you know there's not a timer in the code? Because the machine knows when the election is going to take place. How do you know that without auditing the actual code? Problem. Then statistically, when you look at the big jump that happened right after 4 o'clock in really key counties, where the vast majority of the gains after 4 o'clock went to Biden. If you look at 50 years of data of these counties, all right, I'm willing to bet that you don't see that jump other than in 2020. Statistically, that is impossible. But because the average American citizen doesn't know statistics, the Democratic Party just pulled a fast one on you.
To have a president of the United States who attempts, as he did in the past, to upend the will of the voters in a free and fair election.
Well, a lot to unpack here.
Wait. Are you saying that there was election interference? Kamala? What about election interference by the FBI hiding the Hunter Biden laptop? What about the election interference with a fake dossier during the 2016 election? And the constant investigation on Trump and his close staff during his first term in office. Meanwhile, it was proven that it was all fake. That was election interference. The Democratic Party did election interference. Then fast forward to the crazy stuff that was going on with Biden, with the pay-to-play stuff. What about the Clintons and the pay-to-play stuff that was going on? They were on the take. Big problem. Big problem. Now we have a president, President Biden, who's really the president. Why are you saluting military when you're getting on planes or when you're getting off planes? You're not the commander-in-chief. You never have been, never, ever. How? How you're not supposed to do that. You didn't serve in the military. You're not an active military person. You're not the commander-in-chief. You don't salute. Or is she really behind the scenes, actually, the president of the United States? What's really going on? Want to talk about election interference? By lying about the cognitive decline, trying to hide the cognitive decline of Biden. That's election interference. It was happening during the 2020 election. And just hide him under, in the basement. You knew he had cognitive decline when you were running in 2020. Isn't that election interference too?
News Washington Bureau Chief Ines Poll. She's been following the debate. Ines, a very fiery and fierce debate, both accusing each other of lying. Who do you think came out on top here, Kamala Harris or Donald Trump?
one probably could say in a normal world, it would be clearly Kamala Harris. She presented some ideas. She really also developed her thoughts. She has a clear understanding how an argument works. She has a clear understanding how you present yourself on a stage as someone who is able to talk with international leaders.
Now,
to face...
DW is I think a German broadcaster. Okay. Do you really think that the Germans want Trump to be in office because he's been forcing them to start paying their way in NATO, questioning bad policy, bad energy policy on their end, also pushing back with trade with the EU? President Trump is actually telling the Europeans what our other presidents should have been doing for decades, and that is stop using the American taxpayer to be your military. Stop using the American consumer to floating Europe. So of course they're going to say negative things about Trump and positive things about how smart and how eloquent Harris is, even though she's not. But Trump he wasn't hitting on all cylinders during that debate. That's my take on it. But his policies are far better than Harris. But the dumb American, the dumb average American, will listen to that and go, oh, the Germans don't like Trump. I wonder why. While they're watching their football and stuffing their face with bread.
People like Vladimir Putin or Xi Jinping, or also within the United States, to conduct a dialogue in critical situations, all skills one would think the president of the United States should have. But here, in this time, in this year, 2024, it's different. A person like Donald Trump, who is talking about Haitians eating dogs and cats, who is talking about Democrats who want to allow abortions after the woman gave birth to a baby, who is talking about millions of people killed in Ukraine. And
the bigger issue when it comes to the abortion side of this, from a Republican perspective, you have the absolutists that don't want any abortion, all right? And then you have, I would say, the middle ground, where they're saying the late-term abortions are just wrong. Now, if they say rape, incest, this kind of thing, why would you go full term for that? All right. So you probably would get rid of it early on in the pregnancy. So you wouldn't be doing late-term abortions in those cases. Now, in terms of deformity, then I think it's the parents need to make a decision. Do they want to take the child to full term or not? All right. Or terminate the pregnancy because of some sort of problem with the health of the child, the deformity of the child, or the health of the mother, right? So that would be okayed in a late-term abortion, all right? But late-term abortions because of economics or because of some other reason other than deformity, problems with the health of the child, problems with the health of the mother, late-term abortions aren't okay. That's not okay. And you had some constituencies in the United States taking this all the way to full term, at birth abortions. All right, that's a problem. Now, is it across the country that way? No. But you had legislatures that it's on YouTube talking about this. I think New York was one of them. I thought Massachusetts was another. But I may be wrong with the states. But the problem is that you had some areas of the country that were talking about this. Not all of them, but birth abortions, late-term abortions, other than extreme, situation, I think are just wrong, right? If there is a deformity, or if there is a defect genetically that they find out later in the last trimester, and the parents don't want to deal with that issue, I think the parents should have the right to do a late-term abortion. So there are some provisions, but late-term abortions, for whatever reason, and this is where the nuance comes in. And this is why you need to have an electorate that is smart to be able to deal with the nuance.
Go on and on and on, who puts out lies over and over again, still might have won this debate, at least for those who believe in him. Simply, they don't care about facts and they won't check the facts behind his lies. So this is a very unprecedented moment in history, and I think this debate and the outcome and the polls we will see will just underline that.
Ines, I want to talk a little bit more about performance here. Now, if we cast our minds back a couple of weeks, observers criticised Kamala Harris for failing to make a strong impression in her CNN interview after her, I guess, victorious appearances at the Democratic convention. In this debate, she was asked about her record and changes in policy on things like fracking and on border control. How much was she able to stand up to this criticism?
Yeah, she really can.
And how are the numbers looking? We're landing at a strong 70. Ooh, SPF. Thanks to JetBlue's affairs, Kayla's.
Yeah, she really came a long way if you think about not only her CNN interview some days ago, but also when you think about former debates she delivered like many, many years ago. And we must not forget Donald Trump is a total professional. He was running this TV show for 13 years, The Apprentices. So he's a pro, and she had to stand up to him, and she did well. And she also kind of used a very common trick from politicians. When they get asked about something they feel uncomfortable with, they just change the topic or not answer the questions. That's, for example, what she did when it came to migration, which is a really weak spot of hers, as she was responsible for the migration politics of the Biden-Harris government. She just kind of turned the page, and the tags Donald Trump managed to talk about the crowd sizes of his rallies, and he took that bait. Instead of nailing her down on migration issues, he jumped on that. So in that regard, she performed very professional as a politician. And I mean, these debates are also really tests for the American audience if the candidate would be able to hold up in dicey situations with other world leaders. And I think in that regard, she performed really very well.
Ines, I guess underlying this debate and something that would be of interest to our audiences as well is the focus on not only the war in Gaza, but also the war in Ukraine. Could you just summarize for us how these two conflicts featured in this debate between Kamala Harris and Donald Trump?
Yeah, Donald Trump gives his standard answer, or gave his standard answer. He always says, if I would have been in the White House, the war in Ukraine would have never started. Putin would have never dared to invade Ukraine. He also says that when it comes to the Hamas attack in Israel. But Trump kind of refused to really answer the question if he would sacrifice territory, Ukrainian territory, for a peace deal. He just said, when I'm in office, even before, if I'm elected, even before I will be president, the war will be over. Kamala Harris, on the other side, reminded the audience that she's really a professional when it comes to international affairs. She met Volodymyr Zelensky only days before the invasion at the Munich Security Conference, by the way, and talked with him. And
she's an empty suit for the national security state, and that's why she's being promoted on CNN. That is a fact. She's not strong in international affairs. Who do you think is going to be eating whose lunch? Kamala Harris or Putin? I mean, get real. She can't even be stabilized in her own with her own voters on the Palestinian-Israeli conflict. It's total horseshit what this woman's saying. And I don't even know if she's a woman. I mean, this is the problem with the fucking Germans. Some of these women, it's just like, what the hell is wrong with your genetics?
I described the importance for her to stand with NATO, described NATO as the most important military alliance for the United States, talked about how important it is in her understanding that allies from the United States know that the United States is reliable when it comes to attack from foreign countries on a NATO territory. So they really painted a very different picture here. Donald Trump basically just promising something without any proof that he would end this war, and Kamala Harris underlying the importance of the NATO alliance.
That's our Washington Bureau Chief, Ines Paul. Ines, thank you very much for that wrap-up. And we've got double coverage too from the debates watching parties in Philadelphia. DW's Janelle de Milan is at a Democratic event. Benjamin Alvarez Gruber is following the Republican side of things. Welcome to both of you. Janelle, we'll start with you. Obviously, the Democrats are going to think Kamala Harris is the clear winner tonight. I'm assuming that, but tell us, what's the reaction been there?
Jared, I know it's hard to believe looking at what you can see behind me, which is not very much, but I swear minutes ago there was a very lively Democrat debate watch party right here. And you're right in saying that, of course, many of them would say that Kamala Harris was the clear winner of that debate. Has to be said beforehand, though, that many of them were aware that Harris had a very high bar to clear, a higher bar than Trump even. She had to play to her strengths and being methodical and prepared, but also be able to pivot and be spontaneous and respond to Trump's attack when that was necessary. She had to be able to maintain her composure without getting rattled. And in the first 20 or 30 minutes, you could see that.
I feel that Trump didn't hit on all cylinders, and you have a almost brain dead voter bloc for the Democratic Party, and they're going to manufacture the perception of her being more popular in the United States. So if there's impropriety with the election cycle this year, it'll be more plausible, because it'd be less plausible if there was a huge difference in the polls between Trump and Harris. But if it's tight, then it's more plausible if you play around with the numbers. And this is the reason why Michigan and Pennsylvania need to hold the line for the Democratic Party. Not the Democratic Party. Hold the line for the Republican Party. Let me rephrase that, all right? I said it the wrong way. The Michigan and Pennsylvania need to hold the line for the Republican Party, not the Democratic Party. But I'm afraid, and I'll be totally honest, I'm afraid that Michigan and Pennsylvania will go Democrat this election cycle. Now, maybe because of impropriety with the votes, or maybe it's just that you got a lot of stupid people voting Republican or voting Democrat. I don't know. But the problem here is that we need to hold, if you want to prevent socialism, You need to hold the line in Michigan and Pennsylvania. It's really important. And that means by holding the line in Michigan and Pennsylvania, you're going to get Trump into office and slow down the erosion of our constitutional freedoms and slow down the erosion of our economic system, because the Democratic Party wants to push us towards socialism. So Michigan and Pennsylvania need to be holding the line for the Republican Party. I just can't stand this crap anymore. I just.
It was a bit of a challenge for her. She was a bit rattled. She was a bit nervous, and you could really feel the nervousness of the audience rising along with her. They were cheering, yes, but it really did seem to be meant to encourage her from afar. But as the debate wore on and she got more comfortable, the audience also got more comfortable with her. She entered her stride. She was able to talk about things where she was on sure footing, like on abortion and on foreign policy. The audience also started to mirror her reaction to some of Donald Trump's perhaps more outlandish claims, like the one about Haitian immigrants eating cats and dogs. So there was very loud laughter here when he said that. When Kamala Harris made a point of addressing voters directly by saying, Donald Trump has no plan for you, there was very loud applause here. Now, of course, this is a very kind audience. These are you. A point of addressing voters directly by saying, Donald Trump has no plan for you. There was very loud applause here. Now, of course,
Donald Trump doesn't have a plan for you. It's very simple. Because of the beautiful idea of the invisible hand. Less government, less intrusion on your life, less regulation, less taxes, makes a more vibrant economy. Makes a more vibrant society. Strengthening our military, strengthening our borders, strengthening our currency, makes us more vibrant, more sustainable. Increasing our prowess in energy production makes us more resilient. Those policies are Trump policies. And through the invisible hand, your life is going to get better. But through Kamala, what she wants is top-down control of the citizen. Do you want an administrative state controlling your life? Because that's what Kamala's pushing for. That's what's at stake here. But the dumb American out there, they want to go, what are you doing for me? What are you specifically doing for me? No, create the conditions so you can take ownership of your life. That's the American way. Stop asking for freebies. Create the environment for prosperity and let the invisible hand work. Not everybody is going to be successful, but at least give the opportunity to everybody to try to be successful. So you don't have to go, I'm going to do this, this, and this for you. Because that's socialism. That's top-down control. That's social engineering. That's an administrative state. And by the way, administrative states aren't really all about liberty and the pursuit of happiness. See what I mean?
This is a very kind audience. These are all majority Kamala Harris voters already. And it really does remain to be seen whether she will be able to reach those undecided voters, especially if those 20 or 30 minutes in the beginning of the debate are going to be what most people see.
Thanks, Janelle. Over to you, Benjamin. I guess it's safe to assume, on the other hand, that Republicans thought Donald Trump came out on top. What's been the reaction there where you are?
That's right. That really liked when he spoke about migration. And behind me, you can see there still is some recording. There's a studio from Fox News. Many of the attendees have also are also there now to visit, also to take pictures with the panelists there. There was some moments also where there was a lot of applause and a lot of laughing here. One of them was when Donald Trump says that Kamala Harris has no policies and that he wanted to bring her a MAGA hat that we see in many rallies and that also many of the attendees had here. Also a lot of laughing and applause when he attacked Joe Biden. And of course, the mood was different here compared to the last event, but that was not to the debating from Donald Trump, who is an expert, as we have heard and as we've seen over the last presidential debates, but also it was rather due to the fact of the bad debate performance from Joe Biden. But he really knows how to give those answers very quickly, turn it around, also say, is he really your boss? He's always on the beach. So those are the moments that his supporters really like. And we spoke to some of them also during the commercial break and also at the end, saying that he really is pushing these policies forward, and also said that when it comes to Kamala Harris, and that's also what Donald Trump said in his final statements, she is the vice president of the United States. Now she has been in that position for 3.5 years, and they say if she's promising, why is she not delivering it now? That's a talking point that we've heard from Donald Trump over and over during the debate, but also to the attendees that we talked to here.
Benjamin, you mentioned Donald Trump being an expert. Someone told me that this is his 7th presidential debate overall over his the 3 presidential campaigns that he's fought. Now, Janelle mentioned what Kamala Harris was trying to do to win over undecided voters. Benjamin, Trump does have a loyal base. Do you think he did anything to win over people that haven't made up their minds yet?
So those who were at this watch party here were definitely East Harder fans, but that's also interesting. We spoke to one of the attendees here who said that he thought that Kamala Harris was having a better debate than Donald Trump, that he's a Republican, but that this time he would vote for Kamala Harris. And that's also what she said during the debate, from Republicans supporting her, endorsing her instead of Donald Trump. So those who are here are really his hardcore supporters. It will be also interesting. We'll try to talk to others who are still undivided, who said, okay, let's look at this debate, let's look at the policies that they presented, and let's also look what they post on social media. And both Ines and Janelle have spoken about these rumors, about this lie about migrants allegedly taking away pets, cats.
It's really simple. Go down and see if there's some weird thing going on with the pets and the animals. Investigate it, if it's happening or if it's not happening. Secondly, ask Kamala, is it okay to have a late-term abortion or at-term abortion? What's your policy? And if you really want to pay attention to what she's saying, she's willing to kill a baby at term. Not right. That's not right at all.
And eating them. And that's also something that was fact-checked during the debate, but that's interesting because that's the Trump that we also know. He posted 2 AI, so artificial intelligence generated images, one where he was having a lot of cats on his private jet, another one showing cats with weapons. And of course, for him, it's also an opportunity to move, to change the topic to things that he wants to put on the agenda instead of answering other questions from the 2 presenters from ABC that were also criticized here. We spoke to some attendees and they told me that they were rather biased to one candidate and not to another by fact-checking Trump and what they say here, not fact-checking Kamala Harris.
So much to talk about, but unfortunately we're out of time. Benjamin Alvarez Group and Janelle de Milan, thank you very much to both.
So Bloomberg here is like saying, well, Trump's media company, all right, is selling off, right, after the debate. But so is the whole market. So maybe it's because the whole market's selling off that Trump's media is selling off too, because they're maybe correlated. See, you got to really pay attention to how the media frames an argument so they can try to put in your brain a certain mindset. They want to manufacture a certain consensus. Amazing. Amazing. Okay, this was with this is with RFK Jr. on Fox News, so that's going to be an important one to pay attention to. But before we go to that video, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get turmeric. Turmeric is really important to bring down inflammation, and it's also an antioxidant. That's important because by bringing down inflammation, you're going to improve your immune system. This is very important after the 2020 crisis and what I call the aftershock. And also, it's really important in terms of just slowing down the aging process. Chronic inflammation will weaken your immune system. Chronic inflammation ages your cells, ages your tissues faster. So take turmeric, slow down the aging process, and boost up your immune system. In addition, I also have ashwagandha. Ashwagandha is synergistic with turmeric. It controls your blood glucose levels. It reduces that inflammatory response in your vascular system. Really important to slow down the aging process of your vascular system. So take these together, boost up your immune system, and help with your vascular system. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. I have olive leaf extract. This is a dual purpose product. It helps to boost up your immune system. Are you starting to notice a theme here? Boost up your immune system and help with your cardiovascular health. How does it do it? Olive leaf extract brings down that inflammatory response. So it helps with your immune system. In addition, it also helps to control your LDL levels, bring down the LDL levels, and increase your HDL levels. So your vascular system will improve. So please go to my store and get the olive leaf extract, a great product. It's a dual purpose product that you can take every day to help boost up your immune system and help with your cardiovascular health. Lastly, resveratrol. It's synergistic with C60, with ubiquinol, with NAD+, with B complex, with many of the supplements that I have. Why is taking resveratrol so important? It gets rid of senescent cells. It's an antioxidant, and it is another pathway to improve mitochondrial health and slowing down the aging process in the cell. So go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the resveratrol. I take it every day. It's really important.
All right, one issue that did get a lot of attention from ABC's far left moderators was the weaponization of our Department of Justice. Donald Trump still made it a point of emphasis. Take a look.
Every one of those cases was started by them against their political opponent. And I'm winning most of them, and I will win the rest on appeal. And you saw that with the decision that came down just recently from the Supreme Court. I'm winning most of them. But those are cases, it's called weaponization. Never happened.
And this is the point I'm making. The Democratic Party has tried to influence elections with lawfare, with hiding the Hunter Biden laptop, with pretending that Biden doesn't have cognitive dysfunction, by making false dossiers and, collusion, conspiracies, and all this stuff. They interfered in the election process in 2016, in 2020, and in 2024. Where is the outcry? The Democrats have been doing election interference through lawfare. Now, you think that a socialist is not going to take your rights away? If they can do it to Trump, Don't you think that they can do it to you if you are saying things or doing things they don't like? Of course they could. That's why I keep on saying Alex Jones was right. If you can censor Alex Jones, you're going to start censoring everybody else. If you can go after Trump with lawfare, you're going to be going after everybody else with lawfare. And this is the reason why the national security state needs to be truncated. The government is out of control, and Harris represents an administrative state that's going to take away your freedoms.
They weaponized the Justice Department. Every one of those cases was involved with the DOJ, from Atlanta and Fani Willis to the Attorney General of New York and the DA in New York. Every one of those cases, and then they say, "Oh, he's a criminal." They're the ones that made them go after me. It's weaponization, and they used it, and it's never happened in this country. They used it to try and win an election. They're fake cases.
He's right. He's right about that.
All right, joining us now, someone who knows firsthand about the weaponization of justice, live from the spin room, Robert F. Kennedy Jr. Great to see you. How are you?
Good to see you, Sean.
You left your party, a party that was near and dear to your father, to your uncle. I think it has no resemblance to the Democratic Party today. And this is the frustrating part about tonight, the radicalization, the views stated by Kamala. You know, they weren't asked by the moderators. To me, it was a failed opportunity. I think the American people were failed tonight.
Yeah, I was disappointed by the evident bias of the moderators who were fact-checking constantly, kind of trivialities by President Trump, but didn't, as far as I saw, they didn't fact-check Vice President Harris a single time. But you're right, Sean, that the party that I grew up in doesn't exist anymore. The party of Robert Kennedy and John Kennedy was a party of peace. It was a party of resisting the corporate subversion of American democracy. It was the party of civil rights and constitutional rights, particularly censorship. Very opposed to censorship and surveillance.
It was also a party of trying to overthrow certain governments in Southeast Asia. So let's stop with the bullshit.
It was the party of protecting the most vulnerable people in our society, including particularly children. Today, the Democratic Party is the party of war. It's the party of censorship. It's the party of surveillance. We saw Dick Cheney and John Bolton endorse, along with 255 neocons, endorse Vice President Harris this week. They came out of exile where they were sent after the Patriot Act. They were sent after the war in Iraq, the biggest foreign policy debacle in American history. And they're not endorsing Vice President Harris because they've changed their minds. They're endorsing her because she represents their worldview of more censorship, more war, more surveillance, and less liberty and constitutional rights.
A lot in the course of your campaign. They talk about democracy in peril, but everything, the entire force of the Democratic establishment, if you will, they just went in for the political, death of your campaign. They did not want you to get to. They didn't want you to get first base.
That's the ballot. That's the other thing, is that they've abandoned democracy. The Democratic Party is now about centralized control. It's about losing faith in the demos, the people, and about abolishing elections, abolishing our ability to hear different points of view, to hear dissent. In my case, of course, they got rid of the primaries. They literally abolished many of the primaries so that President Biden wouldn't have to debate me, wouldn't have to run against me.
Let me dip in. I guess Kamala's at one of her watch parties or something. I don't know what she's saying. Let's just dip in for a second.
And let me just say that I think we all know that tonight was a night that highlights something that you all have been working so hard on. We have folks here who have been knocking on doors. Well, but we have a lot of work to do, okay? And tonight, I think, highlighted for the American people what's at stake. I started the debate by talking about it, and it became apparent, I think, throughout about an hour and a half, that
So obviously she's going to go out there and her team. The thing that I learned about her tonight is, you know, being hidden away for days and days and days on end. You can learn your rehearsed lines, and it doesn't matter if you tell the truth because she wasn't fact checked. She told a lot of lies about Trump in 2025, lies about mandatory gun buybacks, which she did support, lying about fracking, lying about a national abortion ban that Donald Trump doesn't support. And you know, it's hard when you've got 3-on-1 like that. But that's what I expect. She's been in this campaign 50 days. We only have 56 days till election day, but early voting, for example, I've been pointing out tonight, starts right here 1 week from tonight. There's a lot of information about her stated views in her own words that people don't know about. What would you advise the Trump people to do?
Here was the most telling part of the debate today, which she didn't get fact checked on. The first question: are Americans better off than they were 4 years ago? There's no metric that you can use to make that case. And she was allowed to then go and give this kind of biographical sketch of herself without ever asking that question. And they never demanded that she ask it today.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page.
CNN interviewing Pennsylvania undecided.
The secret to the perfect bread? Add moisture. The new Miele ovens use
Total running time for each presidential candidate after tonight's heated Harris-Trump debate wrapped up a little while ago. Former President Trump speaking just under 43 minutes, Vice President Harris speaking just over 37 and a half minutes. Plus, we just got the first results from our instant poll. Debate watchers, stand by for that.
Before we do that, please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get vitamin D3. Very important for gene expression. It also helps to absorb calcium. You need good gene expression to have proper cellular metabolism, proper cellular processes. In addition, D3 is very important to help with your bones. It also is very important to help with your cardiovascular health. And it will help to get rid of infected cells by activating apoptosis. Really important, especially during the cold season. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get vitamin D3. A lot of people can't sleep because they're worried that CNN is going to promote Kamala into the White House and that we're going to have socialism and World War III. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the Goodnight Formula. Why? Because this will help you get 3 cycles of REM sleep a night. It'll help you to consolidate memory, and it will, when you wake up, you'll be well rested. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
Right back. Or no, actually, we'll keep going. We're getting the first reaction to the debate from our focus group from voters in the battleground state of Pennsylvania. Phil Mattingly is with them in Erie, Pennsylvania. So tell us who you're with and what they're saying about the debate.
Yeah, Anderson, we talk about how critical Pennsylvania is for each candidate's pathway to 270 electoral votes. We're here in Erie County, Erie, Pennsylvania. We're sitting currently at Mercyhurst University, been a wonderful host for us. The reason why we're here 400 miles away from the debate is Erie County is the swingiest county in the most important swing state of this campaign. There's no question about it. When Obama in 2012, when Trump in 2016, when Biden in 2020, the last 2 cycles, just about 1,500 votes each separated the 2 candidates. So
I have not seen this video, but let's see if the average intelligence in that room is above 100.
Ask voters who have not made a firm decision yet who they want to vote for, what they actually saw in this debate. Now, these are voters that have in the past supported Republicans and Democrats. They have in the past shown support for former President Trump or for Joe Biden. But coming into this night, they told us that they had not made up their minds yet in this election. So just to step back a little bit, show our focus group 2 people, Erie residents, again, most important state, most important county in that state. We asked for a show of hands before the debate who hadn't made up their mind yet, but thought this debate may determine where they would go with their vote. To start with this debate, who do you think won by show of hands? Former President Trump.
1, 2, 3, 4.
2, I'll give it 4, but tentative. Two over there. What about Vice President Harris? More hands. For those of you who thought this debate could be determinative, how many of you have made up your minds based on what you saw tonight on stage in Philadelphia? Raise your hands. All right, I want to ask you why. What did you see that brought you to a conclusion?
I think it's important to remember that we are voting for the leader of our country and not who we like the most or who we want in our wedding party, but who is actually going to make our country better. And we're in an incredibly unique situation where we've had both of the candidates in office before, and we've gotten to see what they do. And when facts come to facts, my life was better when Trump was in office. The economy was higher, inflation was lower, things were better overall. And now with Kamala's administration, things haven't been so fantastic. And she's saying she can fix the problems that her administration has caused, but I just don't know if I can afford to take that risk.
Were you leaning towards the former president coming into tonight?
Probably.
And did you vote for him in 2016 or 2020?
I did.
So decision made there. What did you think?
As to who I would vote for in this election, I strongly felt Kamala was more optimistic, more respectful. I thought she had plans that she tried to describe in the minutes worth of time that she had. I mean, they really were limited with their time. So I don't know, I just felt more strongly for her.
She doesn't have a policy. It's all empty.
I want to talk about some of the moments of the debate because, as we told you guys before,
So
the
just
debate,
here, all right, you know, maybe we need to do an IQ test on in Pennsylvania. I don't know, but the thing is that the first person being asked, all right, Trump supporter, more articulate. Kamala supporter, older, less articulate. Kamala is an empty suit. This is why the national security state wants her. The Trump supporter, younger, more articulate. All right, pay attention to that. And it was about economy, metrics that you can actually measure. You can go and see, you know what, inflation is this on this day. The deficit is this on this day. The unemployment is this on this day. The second person being interviewed was ho-hum. It was like, why? Well, she was more optimistic. So now it's playing into that whole, remember Obama when he was on stage at the DNC? You know, joy, hope. Fuck. You need metrics. How's the American experiment going to be moving forward into the future and giving more opportunities for the younger generation? That's what we need. Not more balloon government. So, all right, we're 3 minutes and 51 seconds in an 8-minute and 57-second video. And the first Kamala supporter could not articulate why she should be in office. Perhaps she's a 98 IQ voter.
These individuals had a dial, and if they turned the dial to the right, then they felt positive about what they were hearing in that moment. If they turned it to the left, they felt less so. They felt negative about what they were hearing. We could track that throughout the debate. We're going to show you a couple of moments where you saw the biggest movement towards positive direction for both of those candidates. You will see the lines at the bottom of the screen, and you will see that movement as the sound we play you plays out. We're going to start with this. Because they're radical. Because they're radical. The Democrats are radical in that
And her vice presidential pick, which I think was a horrible pick, by the way, for our country, because he is really out of it. But her vice presidential pick says abortion in the 9th month is absolutely fine. He also says execution after birth. It's an execution, no longer abortion, because the baby is born, is okay. And that's not okay with me. Hence the vote.
Trump abortion bans that make no exception even for rape and incest, which understand what that means. A survivor of a crime of violation to their body does not have the right to make a decision about what happens to their body next. That is immoral. And what?
It's a state right. It should be voted by the people at that state level. Now, I personally think that whole issue with, if a female was raped and all that they should be able to have an abortion. But you're not going to carry that to 3rd term. You're going to do that in the first few days, or at the max, the first trimester. You're going to have the abortion. So that there should be provisions to allow that. But the problem here is that Democrats don't want this solved. They don't want it solved because they want the female voter, one issue voter, to continually voting Democrat.
Does not have to abandon their faith or deeply held beliefs to agree. The government and Donald Trump certainly should not be telling a woman what to do with her body.
That sound, obviously, that moment was a critical moment, not just for the debate on one of the critical issues of this campaign on the issue of reproductive rights and abortion, but it was also one that garnered significant reaction from our folk.
What about the rights to live for a child that is not born yet? Shouldn't they have some rights? That seems to be immoral to take away that right of life. But you're trying to give some middle ground. The answer is a middle ground approach. The ultra religious probably are wrong on this. The ultra liberal is wrong on it. There's a middle ground.
What I want to ask about right now, for those of you who responded positively to Vice President Harris's answer, tell me why.
Because you want abortion.
Yeah, please.
I responded positively to her answer because I do struggle with the abortion issue, and I don't know that she and I agree, but I don't know that, like she said, that
she can't
the
articulate
government should be in charge of people's decisions. And I think that when she was talking about situations of rape and incest, I think that those happen more than we think that they do. And I don't know, I just felt
for rape and incest, there should be provisions at the state level to allow for the abortion to take place. It's that simple. But notice, a Democrat can't articulate their issue. She might even be a 97 in the IQ.
And response, and that she would carry it out.
And that resonated with you in the moment.
Yes, it did.
Who else had a positive response? Go ahead, please.
I felt like it was her most genuine and passionate that I saw her pretty much throughout it. I didn't necessarily agree with what she was saying, but my favorable reactions were because it was nice to see the passion and believability that she stands behind, and then have something to gauge more of what she says on, since she hasn't.
Let me get this straight. I'm not fully aligned. This is what she said. I'm not fully aligned with what she's saying, but she just seems more believable. It's all about this. Harris is a candidate of fluff, and she still can't even get it out of her mouth. Now she probably is a 98 IQ. What the hell's wrong with Pennsylvania?
solidly about a lot of issues.
And I think what's been interesting, again, following how you guys were tracking the debate, which is a fascinating experience. And I should know, nobody in this room has been listening to the post-game coverage. Nobody in this room has been listening to the analysis. We've actually all been talking amongst ourselves. It's been a really great conversation. There was another critical moment, and this was Donald Trump's best moment based on your guys' responses. And it was when he was discussing Afghanistan. Listen.
We're getting out. We would have been out faster than them, but we wouldn't have lost the soldiers. We wouldn't have left many Americans behind, and we wouldn't have left $85 billion worth of brand new, beautiful military equipment behind. And just to finish, they blew it. The agreement said you have to do this, and they didn't do it. They didn't do it. The agreement was terminated by us because they didn't do what they were supposed to do.
So that was the former president talking about the Afghanistan withdrawal, where 13 U.S. service members were killed in that chaotic process. You're a veteran. There are obviously personal feelings here as well. That answer, and it's been an issue that he's talked about constantly on the campaign. What stood out to you for him?
When I first heard that we were abandoning or we were withdrawing from Afghanistan, and the way it was happening, I had my Kennedy moment. It was very similar to when we decided to invade Iraq back under President Bush. And when I saw that we were leaving that amount of high-tech equipment in the hands of our enemy, and later that day or later that week, I saw on the news where them celebrating with our guns in their hands, I realized what a travesty that was. In the loss of money in that we abandoned when we left, plus the very bullets that we left there that they were shooting at us as we flew away in the planes.
Now you notice the Trump supporters sounded a lot more articulate than the Harris supporters. And here's the whole idea. Less government is good government. Less taxes is good tax policy. Less regulation is good regulation. When you overregulate, your economy isn't as vibrant. A over bloated administrative state is an inefficient government and needs to be truncated. On top of this deep rooted system of the national security state. Those roots need to be pulled out. The CIA needs to be truncated. The FBI needs to be truncated. We need to really go after these people that try to weaponize the judicial system to go after political opponents. I have a feeling that those Trump supporters had a higher IQ than 100. Amazing. It's absolutely amazing. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotic. It's a powdered form. You mix it with your food. I take it every day. It helps to have a good gut biome so you can absorb your nutrients better, reduce inflammation in your gut, because chronic gut inflammation will bring down your immune system, and chronic gut inflammation will weaken the lining and potentially cause allergic reaction problems, allergies, potentially cancers. So you need to have a good gut biome to protect that mucosal lining. There's a mucosal lining in your gut that has bacteria that's embedded in it, and also IgAs to help to keep that gut healthy. All right. But if it's disrupted, if you don't have a good gut biome, that barrier isn't as healthy. And when that barrier isn't as healthy, you have problems with your health. You have problems with your skin. You have problems with your metabolism. You even have problems with your brain. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and take this probiotic improve your health, improve your metabolism, improve that communication between your gut and your liver, your gut and your brain, improve that barrier, reduce inflammation. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the probiotics that I have. Really important, super important. All right, what about, all right, this is CBN News. This will be interesting to see what they have to say.
Joined by CBN's David Brody, who was at the debate last night in Philadelphia. David, I mean, the opinions on who won this debate are flying everywhere. And Trump saying it was 3 versus 1 there, with the moderators kind of chiming in and fact checking only on a couple of things he said. What were your big takeaways from last night?
Well, there were 2 losers in the debate last night, Donald Trump and ABC News. And I think it's in that order. That was a bad debate for Donald Trump. Look, here's the bottom line. He got distracted. She got under his skin, and the insults and jabs that she was doing were strategic, because they weren't just kind of, throwaway jabs and insults. She was getting personal. She was talking about his rallies. She knows how important those are. Talking about how he's a disgrace. That was the word she used regarding world powers, the way they see world leaders. And then she talked about how 81 million people voted to fire. It got very personal, and that was done intentionally, because guess what? It worked. She got under his skin. He got angry and frustrated. He was yelling, or he was very animated. He was frustrated for about 90% of that debate. So, that is not a place where Trump needs to be. And so what does that mean tangibly as it relates to what he did not do on stage? Well, he wasn't laser focused. We talked about how he needed to be, and he wasn't. As a matter of fact, not only was he not laser focused, he missed several opportunities. I mean, I'll just give you one example. And I know we talk about immigration a lot, but for example, he never brought up the fact that Kamala Harris was against a border wall back in the day, and now all of a sudden she's running pictures of Donald Trump's border wall inside of her campaign ads. Instead, he's talking about immigration stuff related to eating cats and dogs and Haitian immigrants in Ohio. Look, if you're talking about eating cats and dogs and Haitian immigrants, you're losing the debate. And the truth of the matter is, Dan, not only that, but in the spin room afterwards here in Philadelphia, Vivek Ramaswamy and Laura Trump and others all talking about how ABC News was so unfair. Well, guess what? They were. But if you're talking about, if you're blaming ABC, then that says something. That says that you lost the debate. Here's another thing that says they lost the debate. Even though Donald Trump says he won the debate, he said it was his best ever. I mean, we should expect Donald Trump to say that. He came into the spin room afterwards. Look, if you win a debate, you don't come into the spin room. You come into the spin room as a presidential candidate if you lose the debate. And that's what he did. So he can spin it all he wants, but I'm sorry, guys. Look, I know there's a lot of diehard MAGAs that watches. I know there's people that are non-MAGAs that watch. So, we have a whole wide swath.
I agree with what he's saying, because that's the impression I had. Trump missed a lot of opportunities. He underperformed, and Kamala overperformed expectations. Big problem. Now, diehard Kamala fans, they're not going to change their vote. Diehard Trump fans, they're not going to change their vote. It's the independents. And there's such a razor thin margin with these battleground states like Michigan and Pennsylvania that I am really concerned that Trump might lose. And I'll tell you, this country can't go down a socialist route. It will destroy the economic prowess. If you don't believe me, please read A Case Against Socialism by Rand Paul. It is a great book. It really goes into the details of why Bernie Sanders is crazy and why Kamala and AOC are crazy.
But for the MAGA audience, you gotta tell it to them straight. And that was not a good debate performance by Donald Trump.
Yeah, and I think missed opportunities is the key word you said there. I mean, because he could have, instead of waiting until after to complain about ABC jumping in, I mean, I think he could have gotten in several Trumpian type zingers on the moderators there, kind of pointing out, like, he could have just said, am I debating you here? Because I didn't understand why they were chiming in a few times. And like, it was a very Candy Crowley-esque sort of moment at times, a couple of times when they sort of jumped in and like offered facts. And I'm like, wait a minute, you're the moderator in a debate. If you're a moderator in a high school debate, you don't jump in and like offer some facts, right? Like you wait for the other team to see if they take that opportunity. But he didn't point that out. Instead, he was just taking the bait of sort of what they were saying, where they were trying to get him to go. So missed opportunities does seem like a big theme for him. He did mention the assassination attempt one time, but I thought, David, and I'd like your take on this, he could have done it when she went down the bloodbath route, which is an out of quote, out of context quote anyway, that ABC didn't fact check. But I mean, why not bring up again, hey, you're talking about a bloodbath. I got shot in the head at a debate and no one's talking about this. So yeah, missed opportunity. What's your reaction there?
Well, Dan, you're on to so many great points. I don't even know where to begin. Let's start with the bloodbath comments. You're right. ABC News should have fact-checked her right there in that moment. That was not accurate, and they needed to say it, and they did not. They were fact-checking Donald Trump all the time in real time, at least 4 or 5 times. Kamala Harris, however, said that Donald Trump had talked about very fine people on that day in Charlottesville.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and don't be like an NBC moderator and get my clarity factor. It's the-studio-reykjavik.com. Clarity factor gets rid of brain fog so you can be an informed citizen. It helps you to concentrate on your work, on school. If you're retired, it'll help those neurons to fire and so you can concentrate. And by challenging your brain and learning new things and having a proper diet and having proper exercise, you're going to improve the neural health. When you improve your neural health, you're going to have less neural degeneration. So it's really important to maintain neural health. I have lots of different supplements that maintain neural health, like Clarity Factor, like C60, like NAD+, and Ubiquinol, and NAC. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the Clarity Factor so you can focus, so you get rid of that brain fog and maintain those neural connections. Don't be an ABC moderator.
That has been debunked. Where were they on that? Where were they on the fact that she said that he's going for a national abortion ban? He said the exact opposite. Now, okay, you can make the argument that she should say that, not them, but not really. I mean, if she's going to say it as a fact, it's their responsibility as a news organization to say that it's not what he said. But Mr. President, would you like to explain that? The same thing on Project 2025. How many times are we going to hear about Project 2025? How many times does Trump have to say, no, I'm not for Project 2025? But of course, they let Trump decide to do that. They were doing Kamala's dirty work.
You want to understand the behind the scenes of what's going on with 2025. You have a group of people that want to somewhat handicap Trump with this run by trying to be overly zealous with some of their policies. Well, Trump is not a Republican or a Democrat. He's kind of an independent, but he's running as a Republican. So there's an establishment within the Republican Party that's trying to hurt Trump. And I think that's what 2025 is about. And the Democrats are playing that tune until the cows come home. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the C60. I have it in MCT coconut oil. I have it in avocado oil. And I also have it in extra virgin olive oil. C60 is a very strong, very potent antioxidant. You take a teaspoon of it a day, and you'll neutralize free radicals. By neutralizing free radicals, you're reducing the stress in the cell, so it's healthier, and you're improving the mitochondrial health of the cell, so it has more ATP. You need lots of ATP for cellular processes to help build up muscle and to also improve your neurons and to have proper cellular metabolism. Really important. So please go to my store and get the C60. It is a very strong antioxidant and it is synergistic with many of the products that I have. All right. It's part of the anti-aging protocol. And by having more ATP, you're going to have the energy for a good immune system. So please go to my store and get the C60. I have it in a 2 ounce, a 4 ounce, or an 8 ounce configuration. And don't be an ABC moderator, because obviously they have neurodegeneration.
It's the truth. They should be ashamed of themselves. It was layup after layup talking about race politics. That brought up, of course, the whole situation where, you know, Trump supposedly questioned Kamala Harris's race. They brought up January 6th and 2020. You know, all of this type of stuff. But Trump's problem was that when they brought up January 6th, brought up 2020, he didn't need to kind of relitigate the election. He needed a pivot. He did not pivot. She pivoted all night to the point where she wasn't answering any of the questions. I mean, she wasn't. She literally, I mean, I can go through the list, Dan, of all of the questions that she did not answer. She was asked about an actual limit. Is there a limit to anything on abortion, you know, in terms of abortion, which was a good, solid question by Lindsay Davis. She didn't answer it. Then on one of them that was startling, Lindsay Davis said, you were for Medicare for all, now you're not. You were for decriminalization at the border, now you're not. She went down the list, and then Kamala said, I'm going to get to those in a moment. And she never got to those in a moment. So not only did she not answer the question, but ABC News was had no follow-up. How about Kamala? Thanks for that 2 minutes.
That's because everybody has a goldfish memory, and the average citizen in the United States has a 98 IQ. That's why you need to take the clarity factor so you can focus and get smarter. Don't be a Kamala Harris.
Answer our question, and they never did it, Dan.
Yeah, and I think that was the frustration with a lot of people, was that Trump did get called out by David Muir a couple of times for not answering the question, and he said, "Well, it was a simple question. Why don't you?" So like that, I think that's some of that frustration that people are feeling. But to your point, in spite of that, we all kind of expect, you know, the mainstream media to sort of lean that way, right? Like, so to your point, like, you can't blame the whole thing on them. He's got to take advantage when he has the opportunities. And it does seem like you said, relitigating 2020. He should have said, look, I'm not looking back at 2020. I'm moving on. I'm very excited about 2024. You could have done that, right? And we don't need to relitigate January 6th, like you said, because that would have been an opportunity, I think, for him, and I'd like your reaction on this, to point out how what they're doing, which was just trying to make this like a referendum on Trump, instead of talking about the issues that matter. And it felt like he sort of took the bait there.
I agree with that. I totally agree with that.
With so many others.
He's absolutely right on that. This is where Trump missed. He wasn't hitting on all cylinders. I don't know why. Maybe, I don't know. I don't know why. It just, I don't feel that he was hitting on all cylinders.
Remember, even though he was the one that brought up the weaponization of government. So let's be clear. There's some reporting out there that one of the topics was weaponization of government. No, it wasn't. ABC never brought that up. It was Trump that brought it up. So there's a lot to unpack here. I think as we move forward, a lot of people are going to ask, is there going to be a second debate? Should there be a second debate? We've heard that Kamala Harris and her team want a second debate. I think that's a horrible move on their part. If you're Donald Trump, you've got to want a second debate. You got to have a do-over here. I think if you're Kamala Harris's campaign, you're thinking that, boy, we have a great strategy that we can employ. And so why not? In a close election, let's get another one of these in. I think that's dangerous. I would walk away. I would say, look, we're done. We're done. Because Trump's going to want the other debate. I tell you what, Kamala Harris and her campaign team are playing with fire. If they want a second debate, I've never seen Donald Trump have two bad debates in a row, and I think they shouldn't do it.
Right. I mean, you don't know what format it's going to be either, right? Like if they go, say, the town hall format, whereas we've talked about before, David, where Harris, but clearly she had memorized lots of lines and she, did fine reciting these lines. But if you're getting a lot of questions, maybe from an audience, and it's a little less where you have to, you have to do more of that explaining and more articulating, in a personal setting, maybe that won't go as well for her. And so, yeah, I mean, if she had,
Kamala Harris cannot think on her feet. She is dumb. She's dumb. And that's the reason why she needed so much debate prep. She can't think on her feet. And that's why her interview with CNN was terrible. And that's why she doesn't take press questions. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the natto kinase. This is a new product on my store. I take natto kinase every day now. This helps to bring down LDL and HDL levels when you take higher doses of natto kinase, but also natto kinase will help to break up clots. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and improve your cardiovascular health by taking natto kinase. Natto kinase is synergistic with some of the other items that I've been telling you about to improve your cardiovascular health, like omega-3, and also it is synergistic with K2, MK7, and D3. Why? Because if you follow my protocol that I've been saying on many of the different videos that I've been publishing, you can actually reverse plaque buildup. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get natto kinase to improve your cardiovascular health and to reduce the chances of clot formation.
Sanders, if her team feels like they did their job on this debate, didn't fumble the ball, held the ground just fine. I agree with you. Why would they want another debate? It just seems like we're so close to the election. Hey, just take that W if you think you got it and move on to the election. But so we'll see if it's all just smoke and bluster if they actually want another debate.
Let me just quickly make one last point then on this topic, which is the abortion issue. That was discussed at length, and Lindsay Davis once again tried to fact check Donald Trump in real time, saying that Mr. Trump, no state allows for legal abortion after a baby is born, and then moved on. Actually, that's not true. It's actually the state of Minnesota had 8 babies that died after birth because they were denied life-saving care. So the truth of the matter is there is a state in this country. ABC News, and I believe this will be a follow-up today, and maybe next 24 to 48 hours, I believe ABC News needs to offer a retraction / apology, whatever you want to call it. They were wrong. They fact-checked Donald Trump, and they were wrong on their fact-check. So I think that's important to note.
Yeah, and wasn't Trump referring to what Ralph Northam had said? Because that was a viral quote at the time. And so he was saying, look, this is what they want to do. So it was like they didn't know that clip existed or something like that. Because he was clearly referencing that clip that Northam said. And when he literally laid out the exact position of, well, baby's born and then we'll see if they get care or not. He said that. That's a true fact. That he said that you can take it for what it's worth if you think it's a good point or not. But the fact of the matter is that was said, what Trump was referring to, but they didn't seem like they knew that even existed.
No, and also here's the other thing. Where were some of the questions about Joe Biden's mental acuity and why he nominated? There was none of that. The whole thing was really, if I could just be honest with you, it was pathetic from ABC News. And I think where we're going, Dan, now, this is the road we're going down, and this should not surprise any of us in this ideological split world of left and right. I think we're probably going to a system where there's going to be 2 debates as we move forward in this country. What I mean by that is that if a liberal legacy network like ABC and CBS is going to do one of these debates, that's considered the liberal checkmark.
Yeah.
I believe there's going to be a conservative, friendly, if you will, network that will do the other debate. And this way, both candidates could say, hey, look, you're getting asked questions from a liberal point of view, because that's, I mean, again, I hate to say it. Honestly, it pains me to say that journalism has come to this, but let's just put all of our cards on the table. Let's just be honest where everybody's at. And I know that it's frustrating, but if there's going to be a debate on a liberal network, that's what ABC News is, NBC, CBS, CNN, outfits it, you've got to do it, then you got to have a debate on the conservative side. And I'm not suggesting it's Fox News, by the way, because I think there's some issues there. But the bottom line is you've got to have equal balance. I think that's what's going to happen from this point forward. I really believe that, Dan. I wouldn't be surprised to see that, because once again, you wouldn't have gotten in this situation with a conservative network.
And I actually like that idea. Like, let's not pretend that we have all of these unbiased meat. Like throw it on the Blaze or Daily Wire or something like that. Like a clearly, right-leaning network that is very opinionated, and just have a home and away. Like, just have you got a home game, and you got an away game, and then right? Like, and then it'll be like, how did they handle the away game? And it'll be kind of a thing. I mean, I think we can stop pretending at this point, because you're right. The framing there, it was just. I mean, I think even at one point there was a question where David Muir, I forget what the question was, but he said, at one point you falsely claimed this. And I'm thinking, why are you going with a question where you're taking a thing like that? I mean, I don't recall hearing any questions to Kamala.
Yeah, right. The right way to have framed the question is, you claim former President Trump, blah, 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 right? But you falsely claim. See, everything's about framing now. And I tell you, you can't trust these liberals. These liberals are going to take this country right to hell. Right to hell.
And you did this. They just did that.
And I would say this, Dan, that there's benefit to doing that for the voter, because ultimately it's about the voter making the most informed decision. Because this way, you do both ways, and this way you get questions from one point of view. In other words, one side of the country thinks this, the other side of the country has some maybe a lot of questions about gender and transition surgery. All the stuff that's making news in more of the conservative Christian circles, or just conservative circles in general. None of it's going to be asked by David Muir and his folks at ABC. So I think it actually benefits the voter to do it that way.
Yeah, I think so too. So, well, I mean, what else stuck out to you, David? I mean, I will say, look, we're kind of hitting on ABC, and I think rightfully so for some of these shortcomings here. They did ask a few good questions. Like, I thought the question right out of the chute saying, hey, they went to are you better off than you were 4 years ago? They went with that to Harris right out of the gate. So there were a few good questions like that, but it's that fact-checking follow-up which kind of threw it off.
Well, that's the problem, the follow-up. The question was fine, then when she didn't answer it, then the follow-up is, okay, someone thanks, you didn't answer it because you didn't answer the question. Yeah, right. I mean, you can ask the question. So what are you doing? You're asking the question because you think that's a tough way to begin. Well, it's not tough if you don't ask the tough follow-up.
Right.
I will say one other thing to keep in mind. There was an Insta poll.
Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAC. NAC is important to take every day. It helps to improve your glutathione levels. Your glutathione levels is a mechanism or a pathway to be able to soak up free radicals. So it's an antioxidant. In addition, NAC can help to detoxify your body, and it will also help with mental health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, to improve your mental health, to raise your glutathione levels as a strong antioxidant and help to detoxify your body. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAC. I have a new product. It's vitamin K2 MK7. This will help to improve your bones and your joint health, but it'll also help with your cardiovascular health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the vitamin K2 MK7. Ubiquinol, really important. It helps with increasing your energy. It helps with neural health. and it's an antioxidant. So please go to my store and get the ubiquinol. Ubiquinol is the active form for CoQ10. So you should be taking CoQ10 every day. I've been taking CoQ10 for years, actually decades. All right. So it's really important. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com. It's synergistic with some of the other products that I talk about. Like, for example, ubiquinol is synergistic with C60. Ubiquinol will help with the neural health. So it's going to be synergistic with NAD+. All right. So ubiquinol, because of it helps with neural health, it's going to be synergistic with the clarity factor. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, get the ubiquinol. It's the active form for CoQ10. It's a very high quality product, and now I am able to offer it on my store. Go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com.
Polls shake out here in the next couple of days. There was an Insta poll on CNN, of all places, right after the debate that showed actually Donald Trump increasing his lead on who's better able to handle the economy by 2 points. So pre-debate, post-debate, 2 points. And why? Because Kamala Harris didn't say anything. I mean, she doesn't have the robust plan. She has some talking points. The old, middle class tax cut, and I'm going to give money to, to start a home, and you're going to get taxed. Yeah, but talking about an actual detailed plan, she doesn't have any. So I think she was missing there on the policy aspects of not just that, but immigration. She had really no meat on the bone. She had a lot of style. And she did very well. She had a lot of strategy. She did very well. There were no word salad viral moments. As a matter of fact, exactly the opposite. I thought she was extremely strong. A lot of positives, but she didn't have policy. And so you go back to what voters are thinking about it. If it's about the economy and immigration, she gets stuck there because that might be where she falls flat come November in this election, because ultimately the economy and immigration are 1, 2, and those are not changing from a poll perspective. As a matter of fact, they're getting better for Trump. And that's why I keep saying I feel like the cake is baked a little bit. And if Trump wins, despite a bad debate, despite being off message, it's because those underlying issues really haven't changed, and they haven't changed for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, CBN's David Brody there.
So that's a cursory view of what news networks and talk show hosts think about the debate. I gave you my opinion. I'll do another video on this whole debate issue. Please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the new product that I have in my store called NAD+. NAD+ helps to bring up your energy levels. It will help to repair damaged DNA, and it will also help to improve your neural health. So please go to my store, the-studio-reykjavik.com, and get the NAD+. Thank you for listening. Please subscribe to all my channels. All the links are in the description of this video. Please ask your social media to follow me so I can grow my channels. Thank you for listening. My country, the United States of America, is at a crossroads. Are we going to have capitalism? Are we going to have socialism? Thank you for listening, and have a nice day.